so much for joining me today. You have nominated Claudia Pillay for being a superlifter. I'm really excited to hear what the backstory is. But first, tell me more about who you are and how you got to be in the industry.
I'm Debra Pillay, and well, people call me Debbie. I've joined the industry quite a long time ago. I would say about 18 years, and I joined the Rennie Group then, and I was an EA to the financial director. I loved the industry, but I then moved on to other companies. And, you know, the last one before joining Kim's and Travel was KPMG. I turned 40 and I was looking for a big change. Claudia was opening Kim's and Travel, and she asked if I was interested in setting up and helping with the events and conferences. I was excited about the opportunity, and I got to work with Amanda Britton, Claudia and the team, and loved the new adventure, loved the new experience. It was a vibrant team, it was everyone having each other's back, and it was a sisterhood. So it was a good journey, but along the way, you know, the company did take a bit setbacks with business, and Amanda lost the De Beers account then, which was our main event, you know, client. And then I went on to help with the HR and the front desk at Kim's and Travel. I worked on there, and then there was changes again at the department with our finance. So I moved into helping with finance, and I became an all-rounder, basically. Loved the company, loved the department I worked in. It was a small, but you know, it was a small group, and in travel, everyone knows each other. Got on to go to we fell under the umbrella of Harvey World. So I got on to going to the conferences and, you know, events. So the travel industry is vibrant and amazing. Claudia is a leader, a mentor. She's been fantastic. So I stayed on, and then last year, 2020, Claudia had to downsize and move out of her rental space into her home because the office team got smaller, and she was downsizing. Business wasn't fantastic. So we had a chat. She said, you know what, your role's actually going to become lesser. Do you know, you've always had a passion for the baking and going into a coffee shop scenario. Are you looking at, I want to still keep you for, you know, the main things in the department, but it's lesser. So we were going to work on a contract basis where I worked a certain amount of hours for her, but, you know, still stayed with her. And then I got into my passion, which was always the hospitality. Unfortunately, in March, February, we were seeing changes going on with the travel trade, where other countries were already experiencing COVID. So in March, the offices closed. I still could go in a day or two to assist, but around April, we had to make a decision where I had to be retrenched. I was retrenched, but I always stayed on helping for a few hours because lots of the other staff, you know, couldn't work from home, and it was the thing about the Wi-Fi. But to make this whole long story short, I had to part ways in December with my last, you know, work for Claudia, because like you said, when the third wave hit, travel got back onto, you know, being hit the most. So I've now been, to just backtrack a bit, last year, May, June, I decided, what could I do on my own that could be a purpose and could bring me some income? I've been always fortunate to work at our church coffee shop. I worked on a voluntary basis, and with COVID, I've been helping them with the outreach programs. So that was a perfect opportunity. The team that I worked with at the church said, if you open up anything, let us know, we'll support you. So that is when Daphne's Delight was birthed, which was June 2020. I've called it Daphne's Delight because it's in memory of my mum that's now passed on 6 years. My mum had a passion for the kitchen. She was always, taught us how to cook and to love food, and always our family celebrations were around food. So that was the main reason. And I thought with my mum passing on, it's the best name to call it. So hence Daphne's Delight. I currently sell samosas, rotis, and I do cupcakes. I've been very fortunate with school orders and a lot of word by mouth, but the business has been good. I wouldn't say excellent. It has its off weeks that we can be quite low, but I've been trusting, and Claudia has been one of the most influential people in me opening my home bake. She's supported me every month, buying for her family, buying for relatives, and by her even letting neighbors know that I sell. And she's always given me a call, and she's said that I can do this, and given me a lot of motivation that this is possible. And I think hence I've nominated her. Thank you.
Wow, that was very inspiring. Thank you, Debra, for sharing that with me. It is a very heartfelt story, and I'm really glad that you had someone to be there for you. Claudia is definitely a super lifter.
Thank you.
I think my next question would be, knowing that everything of everything that went down in the travel and tourism industry, and there's a lot of other people that, like you, got retrenched and couldn't support. In the future, do you think if you had the chance to give back to your community or to uplift others, um, in what sense would that be? Would you do it through your cooking? Would you do how would you go about that?
Well, I must say that it's been a big desire and dream of mine to one day have my own coffee shop. But in saying that, I don't want just a coffee shop. I want a coffee shop. Ideally, I would like the nursery scenario, where people would come to purchase plants and then come for a cup of tea or a slice of cake. And in doing that, I would like to get, already my helper, when she sees me busy in the kitchen, and that she's already saying she's definitely wanting to work for me because she just loves the passion I have. But besides her, which is, she's gotten so dear to me, I would love to bring in, mums that have this passion as me. Mums that have this passion that it mustn't come there to do a job, but to put your soul into something and in return, getting some income out of it. But mums where we could even open up a book club, open up a Bible thing, even have like a little library for little kids if they have children that they pop around with. But to be influential in our business. And then I always said, I love the old people. I love their humbleness, and I love their playfulness as they get older. It's my biggest dream one day to at least do it on a weekly or even maybe once a month. Just take cupcakes and go and laugh with the older people, and then obviously having a lady or two with me to guide, to also partner with me to share this joy and dream of mine to be feeding old age villages and just having a party month, a birthday celebration for birthdays. In that way, it'll be my dream to grow what I have and to share what I have.
Claudia, thank you so much for joining me on our chat today. You were nominated as a superlifter by Debbie, and we would like to know more about who Claudia is and how she came into the industry.
Hi, Danielle. Lovely to meet you. I'm Claudia Pillay. In the early 80s is when I joined the travel industry. I joined a very small agency in Durban in the city center. The idea was actually to do the junior admin. So with doing the junior admin, I ended up doing stuff like invoicing and like things, and all travel was completely new to me. One of the things that happened within the first 6 months of doing travel was that I picked up something that didn't look right. So this consultant was actually pocketing all the cash transactions. And what she was doing was she was keeping the cash, and she was using the invoices from previous invoices or old invoices. When I showed the partner, the two owners of this travel agency, they ended up calling the auditors. This was like so new. I was all of like 19 years old, and I was so scared that this is what I was saying, and this was a blue-eyed girl of the team and stuff like that. And that is something that actually taught me how easy it is to actually have fraud in this industry. Um, uh, Needless to say, and to cut a long story short, this young lady actually was prosecuted. And when I got into the whole bottom of it and saw what she had done, it turned out to be in 1984 something like 40 odd thousand, which is a lot of money. And I got an educational to Mauritius for picking that up. So it was like really something big. And I'll never forget, on the 31st of May 1984 was my first educational. I've never been on an aircraft before. I flew to Mauritius on air, never ever met and stayed with people that I hadn't known before. And then I became a travel consultant when I got back. So what the owner had seen was that when you can identify something where you can see right through the transactions, I then ended up loving travel. I started to sell leisure travel. I went on to about 5 years later, got married, and I moved to Joburg, and then I started downtown Johannesburg with a few months in leisure in the small street mall of Rennie's Travel. And within a few months, I moved into Anglo American. In-house at Anglo, learned a lot in corporate, had the best leaders in the industry. I think to this day, those leaders are still my friends, travel friends. Some of them still in travel, and some have retired. And 20 years later, I opened Kimzan Travel. I have had the best time of my life in travel. The years have been phenomenal. My family has benefited. We've traveled around the world. We've seen things. I've experienced life. I've understood people better. I've decorated my house around the hotel rooms and hotels and receptions, and it's just been so many good experiences of culture, of food, of experiencing life all together. It's just been like very good. So I'm very happy to say that in 2008 Kimzan was birthed. I started the business with Debbie and Mary Ann and Leanne, all of who are still my friends and my colleagues. Mary Ann is still in the team. Leanne lives in Australia, and Debbie started her own business in COVID. So it's a journey where I found that I think that emotionally I'm very attached to people. So I love people. So it was very easy for me to actually have Kimzan Travel. We've had, even in this very unprepared season, which is completely abnormal or so much of discouragement, I felt that lifting people, and just the excitement of knowing that we can still make a difference in people's lives was no different to what travel had done for me in all the years. So there was a lot that I had done in this 13 years of Kimzan, where the St. Mary's Children's Home, my helper's daughter, Jacqueline, that's still in our team now. I've trained about 10 underprivileged people. I've trained them from scratch. Some have enjoyed the travel side and some have enjoyed the admin side. And I understood that it's depending on our strengths and depending on what it is. So I've actually always given them like allowances, like some, stipends for transport. And I've actually taught them how to write emails, how to speak on the telephone, how to answer a call. And it was like such a privilege for me because I came from an underprivileged background. I had gone to school in a township. I'd understood what it was to be previously disadvantaged. And here I was, helping other women, even St. Mary's was Lebo that went on to work for South African Airways. He has his own tour company now, and he's somebody that was from St. Mary's Children's Home. So that's who, like Kimzan was made up of, just building people, helping them, providing for families. I've helped with driver's license to school fees and deposits for studying and, things like that. And I think when I left between Anglo and De Beers, I was managing De Beers and I moved. I always thought in my business, I was always going to provide a lunch. So at Kimzan in our office, every day there was a lunch provided. So everyone would sit, they'd know that there was a salad or food or whatever in the fridge. Everyone would have lunch together and it was such a good camaraderie. And that's what we missed about not being in an office. So there we were, like now, all isolated, but I felt like to be able to connect with these women and these youngsters was what I feel was placed in me for a bigger purpose. And that's what Kimzan Travel is.
Wow, Claudia, that was beautifully kept. Beautifully kept. That was amazing. You are such an influential person. That gave me goosebumps, by the way.
Thank you. You're so kind.
With that said, you are indeed a super lifter, not in your employer's lives, but in the community's life, by uplifting those that that don't really have anyone else to count on to help them in the future or for their lives. My next question would be, how do you feel that someone felt that was compelled to nominate you for what you've done, not just for them, but for people around you, people in your community? How does that make you feel?
I think it's an honor. I think it's actually aligned with what we pray about and what we ask the Lord for, because you cannot live without a purpose. And whether you like it or not, you're just driven to that purpose through prayer. And it's such a fulfillment for me in the sense that I could help more in the time that I had little, because there were people that needed more than just finance help. There was a lot of low spirits, a lot of people, even in my team, that I'd have to drive to encourage to go past their apartment, people that were living on their own. A lot of young women that they didn't feel that they could cope with not having interaction with people and stuff. Done many video calls, many drive-bys, many online meds and vitamins and groceries, and this is with us not having full incomes. So it made me understand it was more than we needed so little, and like we may have like where we've come with being in the industry for, like in my case, 36 years, I felt like my problems were so small compared to the people that genuinely needed just a friend or an ear to speak to, or someone to share something about, like in their lonely time, and what was going on. So I had connected, like as I said, I have my helper's daughter. These are people that I find that with all the people that I've been training, what it is so deep with the fact that most of us haven't fixed our mindsets. So I had spent a lot of time speaking to people about the things that they needed to reflect on, to actually declare on their lives, to speak to themselves, to look at the mirror and understand the bigger scheme and the bigger scene and the bigger picture. And that's where, like, they were very low. There was a lot of low self-esteem, a lot of stress from unnecessary. It was like they self-inflicted, sometimes things that have happened because of wrong decisions, and a lot of stuff was just not. It was no guidance in some places, or they just needed an answer, a way, like something that they could rationalize, or people would want to hear from someone else an opinion. So that for me was bigger than the stress and the anxiety, and all of that was bigger than the actual virus or the season of, because people need people. So that for me was like where I found that I was happy to be able to be used in that area, and people recognized that. So I was very pleased.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Claudia. That was amazing. Very heartwarming. And I know that there might be more people that would have loved to uplift you because of the stuff that you've done. You've impacted, you've affected, you've inspired. And that's only me from an outsider. I think my last question would be, with what you said, there's so much more that you want to do, so much more lives you want to touch. In the future, are there any specific initiatives that you would like to start or get involved in?
Yeah, so there was a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to do some real soul searching. The damage with COVID is one thing. However, the timelines and the stuff that we've got, there's a lesser time that I've got now in the industry or in life than I've lived already. Being, in a place where I'm so close to retirement and stuff like that. But be that may, I think I'm only getting started now, because I feel so encouraged. I feel so motivated. And one of the things I'd like to do would be to work with the people that are really broken, people that actually, it's the mind. Everything for me was like, I saw that people that didn't cope were people that hadn't digested, or they hadn't sorted out some brokenness or some issues that have happened in their lives before. So for me, there was so much of learning blockages that I've seen, even in my team, where people they haven't even tapped on what beautiful stuff is inside of them. That's because of the blockages. So for me, the way I look at it is that I would really do training a little differently this time. And because I've trained so many previously disadvantaged, my idea would be that I would go in more on the life skills, more on like dealing with issues, to be able to sort of like unblock, because they don't have clear minds. Because remember, we're all coming from different backgrounds. I was that 19-year-old little girl that came out of Chatsworth and went into this big office, never seen these people. I saw some of them at Technicon doing my, private secretary diploma, and I was going to do this finance there. But it was more than that. It was like, I want now to say that we would work on life skills, we would work on a lot of other stuff before we move into learning a job, learning, because once you get that self-esteem and you get dealt with all that other stuff, you'll be able to really go ahead and do great things when you have like, a high thing. So I want to train these broken people or these people that need an upliftment, in that's where I found myself. I've given many young girls an opportunity to do, like, for instance, the Galileo online or do stuff through my license. I've given them because it changes a whole family and a community when these people have jobs and they are feeling confident. I have had lots and lots of one-on-one coaching and a lot of speaking to a lot of people in terms of encouragement or guiding them the right way. Or somehow I like, whether it's marriage, relationships, or whether it's life. Those are the things I enjoy a lot, to help the younger people. So for me, it will be life skills before you even teach them the trade, because they need. There's a lot of um, issues where we've got to deal with that for them to learn properly and understand. Self-confidence, self-esteem, very low, very low. And this industry needs more bold and courageous people